At 11:42 on a cold Thursday night, Jonesville turned his car around. He had already crossed 2 intersections when the realization hit him sharp, inconvenient, and impossible to ignore. His phone. Not just any phone. The encrypted one. The one that held contracts worth millions, names worth lives, secrets worth wars. And he had left it inside the house. Jonesville didn't forget things. At 38, he controlled half the city's underground economy, shipping routes, private security fronts, import businesses that were never what they claimed to be. Men feared him, partners respected him, enemies disappeared. But there was one place in his life where control didn't exist. His home. More specifically, his children. 2 of them. 6-year-old Liam rage trapped in a child's body. And little Mira silent for nearly 3 years. Since their mother died. Since the night gunfire turned their lives into something broken and unfixable. 23 nanas had come and gone. Degrees, certifications, recommendations. None of them lasted. Most didn't make it past 2 weeks. So when Jones had hired the newest one, Angela, he hadn't expected anything. No degree. No references worth mentioning. A background that looked empty. Too empty. But he had run out of options. And desperation, even for men like him, had a way of lowering standards. The black car rolled through the iron gates. The guard nodded. The house stood quiet. Too quiet. Jones stepped out, his shoes echoing faintly against marble as he entered through the side door. He didn't remove his coat, didn't loosen his tie. He was in and out. That was the plan. Upstairs, leave. Simple. But halfway up the staircase, he stopped. Because he heard something. Not screaming. Not crashing. Not silence. Something else. Soft. Unsteady. A voice. Sin. Jones didn't move for a moment. Because that sound didn't belong in this house. Not anymore. Slowly, he turned his head toward the children's hallway. The door to their room was slightly open. And the voice came from inside. He walked closer. Each step quieter than the last. And then, he pushed the door open. Just enough to see. And what he saw stopped him cold. Liam was asleep. Not exhausted, collapsed sleep. Not the kind that came after screaming until his voice broke. Peaceful. Curled slightly, his hand gripping fabric. Angela's sleeve. And Angela sat on the floor beside the bed. Her back against the wall. One arm supporting him gently. The other wrapped around Mira. And Mira, the little girl who hadn't spoken in years, was away. Not afraid. Not frozen. Her head rested against Angela's shoulder. And her lips were moving. Not words, but following the melody. Trying to sing. Jones forgot how to breathe. For 3 years. Science. Doctors had called it trauma-induced mutism. Therapists had called it psychological withdrawal. Experts had said it may never fully return. And yet here she was. Not speaking, but reaching for sound. Because of a woman who had walked into this house 2 days ago. With nothing. No credentials. No power. Nothing but quiet eyes and worn-out shoes. Angela didn't notice him. She kept singing. Careful. Like she was afraid the moment would break if she pushed too hard. The room looked different. Not expensive different. Human different. Stuffed animals were arranged in a circle around the bed. Like guards. A small spray bottle sat on the nightstand with a crooked handwritten label. Monster spray. A nightlight cast a warm glow instead of harsh white light. And the air didn't feel heavy. For the first time in years, the room felt safe. Mira stirred slightly. Her eyes flickered toward the door. Toward him. Jones tensed. He knew this moment. The fear. The shrinking. The silent retreat. But it didn't happen. Mira looked at him. Sleep heavy. Then she tightened her grip on Angela's shirt, turned her face back into her shoulder, and closed her eyes. No fear. No panic. Just trust. Jones stepped back. quietly, like he didn't belong there. Because for the first time, he didn't. He walked down the hallway, down the stairs, into his office, opened the safe, took the phone. But instead of leaving, he sat. The screen lit up. Messages, calls, numbers, deals. A world he controlled perfectly. But none of it stayed in his mind. Because all he could see was a child holding onto someone like she mattered, and a boy who had stopped fighting long enough to sleep. The meeting started. Voices filled the room through the screen. Jones, we need your decision, Route A or Route B? Route A. He didn't know what route it was. He didn't care. Because somewhere upstairs, something impossible had just happened. 2 hours later, the house was silent again. Jones stood outside the children's room, looked in. Angela was gone. Liam still slept, the small stuffed bear in his arms. Shoo. Boy. Not something from this house. Something she had bought. With money she probably couldn't spare. Jones turned, walked down the hallway, stopped outside another door, knocked. Was. Twice. So. The door opened. Angela stood there, hair loosely tied, no makeup, wearing the same faded clothes. And for the first time, he actually saw her. Not as staff, not as a temporary solution, but as a person. Real. And polished. Unafraid? Is something wrong? She asked quietly. No. He paused, then said the truth. They slept. A small nod. Yes. Silence. Then. Though. She leaned slightly against the doorframe, choosing her words carefully. They're not difficult children. Jones almost laughed. 23 nanas would disagree. They're afraid. That word stopped him. Afraid, he repeated, of being left again. Jones didn't interrupt, because something in her tone made him listen. Before he had proof, before he had reason, he believed her. Liam pushes people away, she continued softly, because it hurts less if he leaves first. And Amira? Angela hesitated, then said gently, she's still listening to the last moment she felt safe. Jones frowned. What does that mean? Angela met his eyes. The last thing she remembers before everything broke was her mother's voice. Silence. So she's waiting, Angela said, for the world to sound safe again. Jones didn't speak, because for the first time, someone wasn't analyzing his children. They were understanding them. His gaze shifted. The bottle. Angela smiled faintly. Lavender water, and a story. Monster spray. It gives him control. Jones exhaled slowly. Millions spent. Experts hired. And the answer was a $3 bottle and patience. Where did you learn this? He asked. Angela looked at him. How? But her eyes held something deeper. I didn't learn it. Pause. I lived it. And just like that, Jones realized something. This woman didn't help his children because she was trained. She helped them because she had survived what they were still trying to understand. The night stretched between them. Quiet. Heavy. Different. And for the first time in years, Jones Vale walked away from a conversation, feeling like he had just lost control. Not of his empire, but of something far more dangerous. Hope. The next morning didn't begin with silence. It began with laughter. Jones woke up slowly, his mind still heavy from the night before. For a moment he didn't recognize the sound. It was unfamiliar. Out of place. Then it hit him. Lim. Laughing. Jones sat up instantly. For 3 years, mornings had meant shouting, breaking, resistance. Every day began like a storm. But this was light. He threw on his shirt, didn't bother buttoning it, and walked downstairs. The closer he got to the kitchen, the clearer the sound became. White. Uncontrolled. Real. He stopped at the doorway. And what he saw didn't belong in his world. The kitchen, his massive, polished, untouched kitchen, looked like something else entirely. Flour scattered across the counter. A mixing bowl tilted slightly to one side. Angela stood by the stove, wearing an apron that clearly didn't belong to the house, old, faded, probably hers. She was pouring batter onto a pan, carefully shaping something. Beside her, Liam stood on a chair, stirring batter like it was the most important job in the world. Is it ready yet? Liam asked, serious. Almost, Angela said gently. You're doing it right, just a little more. Jones leaned against the doorway, watching, not interrupting. Mira sat at the table, not hiding, not withdrawn. Dry. A crayon clutched in her hand. Focused. Present. Jones stepped closer without thinking. Looked down. 3 stick figures. One small. One slightly taller. One with longer hair. Lim. Angela. No, him. That hurt more than he expected. Breakfast is ready, Angela said, placing a plate down. Pancakes. Not perfect circles, but shaped. Little animal faces. Blueberries for eyes. Banana slices for smiles. Liam jumped down immediately. I want this one. You can have it, Angela said calmly, but sit first. And something impossible happened. He listened. No yelling. No resistance. Just, okay. Jones blinked slowly. He remembered a week ago. The last nanny crying in the hallway. A shattered plate on the floor. Liam laughing as he destroyed something. Now, the same child sat down and ate. Then it happened. The moment that revealed everything. I want to touch that, Liam said, pointing at the hot pan. Every other nanny had reacted the same way. No. Don't touch that. Stop. And Liam would explode. Because control had been taken from him again. Angela didn't raise her voice. Didn't rush. She crouched down to his level. The pan is hot, she said calmly. If you touch it now, it will hurt. She pointed gently. See that steam? That means danger. Liam watched. Really watch. When it cools down, she added, I'll let you touch it. If pause. Then. Okay. Jones felt something shift inside his chest. Not loud. Not dramatic. But undeniable. Explain. Don't command. And suddenly, everything changed. Then, the sound of something hitting the floor. Mira's cup slipped. Milk spilled across the tile. The glass rolled away. And instantly, her body changed. She rose, curled inward, hands over her head, shaken. Jones's jaw tightened. That reaction didn't come from nowhere. Somewhere along the line, someone had taught her that mistakes meant punishment. Angela moved immediately, but not how he expected. She didn't rush, didn't grab her, didn't panic. She knelt, slowly, lowering herself until she was at eye level. Not above. Never above. It's okay, she said softly. No reaction. Mira kept trembling. Angela didn't touch her, didn't force comfort. She simply stayed there. Close enough to be safe. Far enough to be respected. It's just milk, she continued gently. We can clean it. No anger. No tension. Just truth. Mira's fingers slowly lowered. Her eyes peeked through. Searching. Waiting for the reaction she expected. But it wasn't there. Angela held out her hand. Not demanding. Offering. A long second passed. Then, Mira reached out. Grabbed her hand. Angela cleaned the spill with one hand. And never let go with the other. Jones turned away. Because something in his chest felt unfamiliar. Too full. Too short. He stepped into the hallway. And walked straight into Finn. Finn didn't greet him. Didn't smile. Just said quietly. Thus, we need to talk. Downstairs. Behind a hidden door. into the real office. Screens lit up. Surveillance. Nevs. Territories. Everything Jones understood. Everything he controlled. Finn placed a file on the table. Angela. Jones didn't touch it. Problem. Finn nodded once. Her pass. The screen lit up. Information scrolled. Angela, 26. Parents deceased. No stable record for years. No consistent employment. Shelter stays. Temporary housing. She disappears for almost 3 years, Finn said. No address, no job, no trace. Jones watched silently. She reappears, Finn continued, in a domestic abuse shelter. Huss filed a restraining order. Jones's gaze sharpened. Against former partner. Finn closed the file. This kind of gap doesn't happen by accident. Science. She could be running. Or hiding. Or placed. Jones didn't answer. His eyes shifted to one of the screens. The kitchen. Angela laughing softly as Liam talked too fast. Mira is still holding her shirt. Finn followed his gaze. This is how it starts, he said. People get comfortable. They trust the wrong person. Jones's voice was quiet. She stays. Finn didn't argue, but his jaw tightened. Then we watch her. Jones nodded once. Do it. But his attention never left the screen. Because logic told him one thing. But instinct, the instinct that had kept him alive, said something else. That whatever Angela was hiding, it wasn't danger. Not to his children. A week passed. 7 days of something the house had forgotten. Routine. Warmth. Letter. And then, the incident happened. It wasn't planned. It wasn't expected. And it changed everything. Saturday afternoon. A gathering. Business partners. Investors. People who only knew Jones as power. Angela wasn't meant to be there. She stayed near the edges. Invisible. Just the nanny. Until a tray of drinks moved through the room. Champagne. Carefully placed. Perfectly served. One glass was meant for Jones. Angela saw it. Not because she was looking for danger, but because she noticed details. Always had. The color. Too faint. The smell. Barely off. The glass. Placed slightly differently. Her body reacted before her mind did. Don't drink that. Her voice cut through the room. Clear. Firm. Unapologetic. Everything stopped. Dozens of eyes turned. Silence fell like a blade. Jones didn't move. Didn't question. Didn't laugh. He looked at her. And in that single second, he believed her. Before proof. Before explanation. Before anything else. The power in the room shifted. And Angela, the invisible nanny, had just stepped into the center of it. The silence didn't break immediately. It stretched. But dangerous. Jones stood there, the glass still inches from his hand. Angela hadn't moved, hadn't stepped back, hadn't apologized, and that alone made everyone uneasy. Because in a room like this, people didn't interrupt him. They didn't question him. And they definitely didn't tell him what to do. One of the men laughed nervously. A little dramatic, don't you think? Another smirked. It's just champagne. Jones didn't look at them. His eyes stayed on Angela. What? He asked quietly. Not angry. Not mocking. Just listening. Angela stepped forward. Oh. Measure. There's a difference in color, she said. Barely visible, but it's there. She pointed at the glass. The scent is off too, bitter under the sweetness. Pause. And it was placed last. Murmurs spread across the room. Confusion. Annoyance. Suspicion. One of the senior partners scoffed. You're trusting in Nanny's nose over. Enough. Jones didn't raise his voice. But the room snapped silent. He picked up the glass. Not to drink. to examine. Then, he handed it to Finn. Test it. Finn didn't hesitate. He signaled one of the security men. The glass disappeared within seconds. The room shifted. What had been irritation turned into tension. Because now, it was real. Jones turned back to Angela. Anything else? He asked. Angela didn't shrink under the attention. Didn't lower her gaze. There are only 3 possibilities, she said. The room leaned in. Someone here brought it. Someone here allowed it. Or someone here is testing you. That last line landed hard. Jones's eyes darkened slightly. Not with anger. With recognition. Because she wasn't guessing. She was thinking. Structurally. Strategically. And that made her dangerous. The results came back in less than 5 minutes. Finn returned. Face colder than before. Pleasant. No one spoke. Not lethal immediately, Finn continued. Delayed reaction would look like natural failure. Now the room was intense. It was hostile. Jones slowly turned, looking at each person. One by one. No shouting. No accusations. Just silence. And that silence was worse. Lock the doors, he said. No one moved at first. Then, they did. Angela stepped back. Not retreating. Just stepping out of the center. Her role. Done. But Jones wasn't finished. Phones on the table. Reluctantly. They obeyed. Because in this room, refusal wasn't an option. Minutes passed. Interrogation began. Quiet. Precise. Frivolous. Angela watched from the edge. Not involved. Not interfering. Until she noticed something. One man, near the far end, didn't look afraid. Didn't look angry. Didn't look anything. Too calm. She stepped forward again. Softly. But enough to be her. Then, every head turned. The man smiled faintly. Excuse me? Angela didn't raise her voice. Your glass, she said. It's untouched. He chuckled. I don't drink during business. Angela nodded slightly. That's not unusual. It paused. But your hand. She stepped closer. Has residue. The room froze. Finn moved instantly. Grabbed the man's wrist. Inspected it. A faint stain. Almost invisible. The man's smile faded. Jones didn't react immediately. He just watched. Then, explain. The man exhaled slowly. And for the first time, fear appeared. It wasn't supposed to kill you, he said. Wrong thing to say. Jones stepped forward. Huh. Controlled. Terrifying. It was supposed to what? The man swallowed. Send a message. Silence. Jones tilted his head slightly. To me? The man hesitated. Then? No. That was worse. Then to who? Jones asked. The man's eyes flicked. Just for a second. Toward Angela. That wasn't enough. The room shifted again. Now it wasn't just betrayal. It was something deeper. Jones followed the glance. Looked at Angela. Then back at the man. You don't even know what you touched, Jones said quietly. Because this was no longer business. This was personal. The man broke. Quickly. Someone paid me, he said. I didn't know details, just that I needed to get close. Make it look natural. Who? Finn demanded. The man shook his head. I don't know. Intermediary. Jones didn't press further. Not yet. Because he already understood something. This wasn't random. This was targeted. And Angela had just stepped directly into the line of fire. The man was removed. Quickly. Quietly. The guests were dismissed. Even quicker. Within an hour, the house was empty again. Except for one thing. The balance had changed. Jones stood in his office. Angela across from him. You saved my life, he said. Angela shook her head. I prevented a mistake. He studied her. You knew what it was. She didn't deny it. Oh, he asked. It paused. My father worked in pharmaceuticals, she said. I grew up around compounds. That explained part of it. But not all. You saw more than chemistry, Jones said. Angela met his eyes. Yes. Science. Then she said something that no one else in his world would have dared say. You have a problem inside your circle. Not accusation. Not fear. Just truth. Jones nodded slowly. I know. And if you don't fix it, she continued, it won't be the last attempt. He took a step closer. Then help me fix it. That was the moment everything changed. Because he wasn't ordering. He wasn't commanding. He was asking. Angela didn't answer immediately. Because stepping into that world wasn't small. It meant danger. Exposure. Loss. But then, she thought about Liam. About Mira. About what would happen if she stayed silent. And she made her choice. I'll help, she said. But on one condition. Jones didn't hesitate. Name it. No unnecessary violence. That landed harder than anything else. Because she wasn't naive. She knew what he was. But she was drawing a line. Jones held her gaze. Bluff. Measure. Then. He nodded. Agreed. And just like that, the invisible nanny became something else. Not staff. Not outsider. A strategist. And the war had just begun. The house didn't feel the same after that night. It still looked the same. Marble floors, silent guards, perfect order. But beneath it, something had shifted. Angela felt it first. Not in the walls. In the people. Guards spoke less. Finn watched more. Doors that were once casually closed were now locked. And Jones changed in a way no one else noticed. Except her. He listened. Not just to reports. To her. 3 days after the poisoning attempt, they sat across from each other in his office. No guards inside. No interruptions. Just a table, a city map and tension. Angela studied the layout. Routes. Connections. Businesses disguised as something else. This isn't random, she said. Jones leaned back slightly. I know. They didn't try to kill you instantly, she continued. They wanted delay. Confusion. Internal doubt. Finn stood near the wall. Silent. Watching her. Which means, Angela said, this isn't about removing you. She looked up. It's about destabilizing you. Jones's eyes narrowed slightly. Because she was right. They want your structure to break from inside, she added. And they've already placed someone close enough to try once. Finn spoke for the first time. We removed the man responsible. Angela shook her head. No. It pus. You removed one piece. Silence. Jones leaned forward now. Interested. Hopest. Go in. Angela pointed at the map. Your operations rely on trust networks. Information moves fast. Decisions happen quickly. She tapped lightly. If someone disrupts that slowly, they don't need to destroy you. They just need you to start doubting your own people. Jones didn't interrupt. And once that happens, she continued, you'll make a mistake. The room fell still. Because that was how empires fell. Not from outside force, but internal fracture. Jones exhaled slowly. Then asked, what would you do? Angela didn't answer immediately. Because this wasn't theory. This was real. Don't react loudly, she said finally. No sudden punishments. No mass changes. Finn frowned slightly. That makes us look weak. Angela turned to him. No. It makes you look stable. A beat. If they expect chaos, she continued, give them control. If they expect suspicion, give them trust. Jones' lips curved just slightly. Not amusement. Recognition. You're suggesting we let them think they're winning. Angela nodded. Yes. Silence again. Then Jones said quietly, You're not just reacting. You're anticipating. Angela didn't respond. Because she wasn't trying to impress him. She was trying to protect something. And that made all the difference. The plan shifted that day. Quietly. Strategically. But the war didn't stay quiet. Because 3 days later, everything escalated. It was late afternoon. Warm light through the garden. Angela sat outside with Liam and Mira. No guards too close. Just enough distance to feel normal. Liam ran through the grass. Leffy. Holding a toy playing. Look, he shouted. It's flying. Mira sat beside Angela. Drawing again. Always drawing. Angela watched them. Carefully. Not anxiously. But aware. Because something in her chest hadn't settled since that meeting. Then, she noticed it. A car. Parked too long. Engine off. Driver unseen. Her body reacted instantly. Not panic. Recognition. Patterns. Stillness. Runness. Liam, she called calmly. Come here. No, I'm flying. Her tone didn't change. Now, something in her voice made him stop. He ran back. Angela stood. Took Mira's hand. Inside, she said. No explanation. No fear. Just direction. They moved quickly. The moment the door shut, the car started. Too fast. Too late. A loud crack echoed. Glass shattered near the entrance. Mira flinched violently. Liam froze. Angela didn't hesitate. She pulled them down. Shielded them with her body. Stay down, she whispered. Guards moved instantly. Weapons drawn. Chaos outside. But inside, Angela stayed still. One hand over Mira's head, the other gripping Liam tightly. No one is coming in, she said quietly. Not reassurance. Certainty. Because if she sounded afraid, they would break. Minutes pass. Then, silence. Jones arrived less than 10 minutes later. Faster than anyone expected. He stepped inside. And stopped. Because he saw them. Angela on the floor. Children pressed against her. Unharmed. And something inside him shifted. Not relief. Not just that. Something deeper. More dangerous. He walked toward them. Chloe. Angela looked up. Met his eyes. They're okay, she said. Not we. Not I. The. Jones crouched down. Checked Liam. Checked Mira. Then, for a brief moment, his hand hovered near Angela. Not touching. Just there. Then he stood. And turned. Everything about him changed. Find them. 2 words. Final. Angela stood. No. The room froze. No one spoke like that to him. Not here. No, now. Jones turned slowly. Angela didn't step back. You'll escalate it, she said. Publicly. Vesely. His voice dropped. They fired at my house. And they want you to react like this, she replied. Silence. Because she was right. Then, Jones stared at her. What? Huh? Anyone else would have been removed for that tone alone. But he didn't move. Because somewhere between instinct and trust, he chose to listen. What do you suggest? He asked. Angela took a breath. They're testing your response speed. Your protection layers. She stepped closer. So we changed the pattern. Oh, Finn asked. Angela looked at Jones. We moved the children. That landed heavily. Not away, she added quickly. Strategically. Temporarily. Jones's jaw tightened. He didn't like it. He understood it. Because for the first time, this wasn't about control. It was about protection. And Angela had just stepped fully into that role. Not as a nanny. As someone standing between danger and his family. The midpoint had arrived. And nothing would be the same again. The decision was made before midnight. Quietly. Without announcement. Without panic. The children were moved. Not far. Not hidden in fear. But repositioned. A secondary residence. Smaller. Less known. Fewer eyes. Fewer patterns to track. Angela went with them. Of course she did. There was never a question. Jones watched them leave. Didn't stop them. Didn't argue. But something in his chest tightened. In a way he didn't understand. Because power meant control. And control meant presence. And for the first time, he was choosing distance. Not for strategy. For them. That was new. Back at the main house. The war sharpened. Jones stood in the underground room. Screens lit. Voices low. Patterns changed, Finn reported. No movement since the attack. Angela's words echoed in his mind. They're watching how you react. So he didn't react. Not publicly. Not violently. And that made the enemy nervous. Because silence from a man like Jones was never empty. It was preparation. 3 days passed. Then, the break came. Not from outside. From inside. A financial report. Routine. Expected. Until it wasn't. Numbers didn't align. Small discrepancies. But consistent. Jones stared at the screen. Expression unreadable. Who handles this division? He asked. Finn checked. Huz. Victor Hale. The name sat in the air. Victor. Old ally. Trusted. Present at the party. Present when the poison was served. Jones didn't react immediately. Because betrayal was never confirmed in emotion. It was confirmed in proof. Bring him in, Jones said. No urgency. No anger. Just inevitability. Victor arrived an hour later. Confident. Tough. Unaware. He walked into the underground room. And froze. Because something felt wrong. Not loud. But certain. Jones stood at the head of the table. Zip. Victor obeyed. Something wrong? He asked lightly. Jones slid a file across the table. Explain. Victor opened it. Read. His expression didn't change. Accounting error, he said. Too quickly. Jones leaned forward slightly. No. Science. Victor chuckled. You think I'd risk everything for numbers? Jones's voice dropped. I think you already have. Pause. Then. Angela stepped forward. Victor's eyes flicked to her. Dismissive. Who is she? He asked. Jones didn't answer. Angela did. I'm the one who noticed. Victor smirked. And Nanny? Angela didn't react. You didn't poison him to kill him, she said calmly. You poisoned him to create confusion. Victor's smile faded slightly. You redirected funds in small amounts, she continued. Enough to avoid attention. But consistent enough to build leverage. Science. You needed instability, Angela said. So you created it. Victor leaned back. And what? He said. You think you've solved something? Angela met his gaze. I think you're not the one in control. Eh? Because it wasn't accusation. It was exposure. Victor's eyes sharpened. Jones watched. Not interrupting. Because this was the moment. Who are you working for? Jones asked quietly. Victor didn't answer. Jones didn't repeat the question. He didn't need to. Because pressure did the work. Minutes passed. Then Victor exhaled. You don't get it, he said. Then explain. Victor looked at Angela. She's the reason. The room still. Jones didn't move. Victor leaned forward. You changed. Not to Angela. To Jones. You stopped reacting. You stopped trusting instinct. You started listening to, he gestured vaguely. Angela didn't flinch. And that made you predictable, Victor said. Jones's eyes darkened. Predictable, he repeated. Victor nodded. You hesitated. And hesitation. A faint smile. Gets people killed. Silence. Then Angela spoke. No. Everyone turned. You're wrong, she said calmly. Victor laughed. You think this is about morality? Angela shook her head. This is about control. She stepped closer. You thought chaos would weaken him. But stability. She looked at Jones. Made him stronger. That truth landed deeper than anything else. Victor's expression cracked. Just slightly. And that was enough. Jones straightened. One word. Final. Victor hesitated. Then. Dante Ruiz. The name hit like a gunshot. Old rival. Patient. Strategic. This wasn't a test. This was a takeover attempt. Jones nodded slowly. Thank you. Victor realized. Too late. What that meant. Wait. Play was over. He was removed. Quietly. No chaos. No spectacle. Just gone. Angela stood still. Because this was the part she couldn't change. Jones turned to her. It's finished, he said. She shook her head. No. Pause. It's exposed. That distinction. Matter. Jones studied her. Then nodded. Because again, she was right. The final move came the next day. Not through violence. Through exposure. Financial leaks. Connections revealed. Evidence released to the right people. Dante Ruiz's network. Collapsed. Not burned. Not destroyed. Dismantled. Flame. Permanent. The war ended. Without a single public shot. And Angela had been at the center of it. Not with power. Not with force. With truth. And for the first time, Jones understood something he had never learned in his entire life. Power didn't always win through fear. Sometimes, it knelt to clarity. The house was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't the quiet of fear. It was something else. Something steady. Something earned. The threat was gone. Dante Ruiz's network had collapsed within 48 hours. Accounts frozen. Allies vanished. Names exposed. No gunfire. No public chaos. No blood in the streets. Just silence. Final. Jones stood in the garden. Hands in his pockets. Watching. Liam ran across the grass. Laughing. Not breaking anything. Not fighting anyone. Just being a child. Mira sat nearby. Drawing. But now, every few minutes, she looked up. Spoke a word. A sentence. Small things. But they matter. Angela sat between them. Not commanding. Not controlling. Just present. And somehow, that presence had done what power never could. Jones had built an empire worth millions. Controlled men. Moved systems. Created fear. But he had never been able to create this. And that truth stayed with him. Later that evening, he asked her to meet him on the terrace. No guard nearby. No tension in the air. Just wine. And city lights. Angela leaned lightly against the railing. The same place she had stood weeks ago. As nothing more than a nanny. Jones walked toward her. Slower than usual. Not because he was unsure. But because for once, he wasn't in control of what came next. I owe you everything, he said. Angela shook her head. No. You saved my children. I gave them what they needed. And me? She didn't answer immediately. Because this was the part that mattered. You listened, she said finally. That's what changed things. Jones let out a quiet breath. I don't know how to be what you deserve. That sentence would have shocked anyone who knew him. A man like him didn't admit limits, didn't admit uncertainty. But here, he did. Angela turned toward him. I don't need power, she said. I don't need money. It paused. I need safety. Sure. Joyce. Each word. Simple. But absolute. Jones nodded slowly. You'll always have that. No, she said gently. He's still. I won't accept promises, she continued. I'll accept actions. Silence. Because she wasn't asking. She was defining. And for the first time, Jones didn't feel challenged. He felt grounded. What do you want? He asked. Angela looked out over the city, then back at him. A life that doesn't depend on fear. That landed harder than anything else. Because his entire world was built on it. Jones stepped closer. I can't erase what I am. I'm not asking you to, she replied. Another pause. I'm asking you to choose what you become. That was the moment. Not a deal. Not a negotiation. A choice. And for the first time in his life, Jones didn't think about strategy. Didn't think about power. He thought about them. The children. Their laughter. The quiet mornings. The small drawings. Angela. Standing in front of him. Not afraid. Not impressed. Not control. Just real. And he understood something he had never understood before. Control wasn't power. Choice was. He lowered his head slightly. Not submission. Not weakness. Recognition. I choose them, he said. Angela watched him. Carefully. Because words. Or ease. Time passed. Not days. Weeks. Months. And something remarkable happened. Jones didn't change overnight. Didn't become someone else. But he adjusted. Fewer late-night deals. More evenings at home. Less reaction. More thought. Less fear. More structure. The empire didn't fall. It evolved. Cleaner. Quieter. And a house became something new. Not a fortress. A home. One evening, Liam ran into the kitchen. Look what I made. A messy drawing. 4 figures. Jones. Angela. Yeah. This time, he was included. Mira walked up slowly, held Angela's hand, then looked at Jones. Stay, he said softly. One word. But it held everything. Jones crouched down, met her eyes. I will. And this time, it wasn't a promise. It was true. Later that night, Angela stood in the doorway of the children's room, watching them sleep. Liam. Peaceful. Breathing softly. She turned to leave, and found Jones standing there. Silent. He didn't speak immediately. Then, stay, he said. Not a command. Not a request tied to power. Just a choice offer. Angela looked at him. I already chose, she said. And for the first time, he understood what that meant. She hadn't stayed for money. Not for safety. Not for him. She stayed. Because it was right. And that was something no power could buy. The months turned into a year. The house filled with small routines. Morning laughter. Evening stories. No headlines. No chaos. Just life. And one quiet afternoon, Jones sat in the garden again. Angela beside him. Children playing. He reached for her hand. Hus. May I? She smiled. And nodded. Because respect came before everything else. And that was the difference. The most feared man in the city didn't conquer love. He earned it. Not through force. Not through wealth. But through something far more difficult. Chain. And in the end, the truth remained simple. Silence is often mistaken for weakness. But sometimes, it is where strength begins. Power can command fear. but only truth can earn trust. And the greatest victory of all is not control. It is the freedom to choose who you become. The end. If this story stayed with you, take a moment. Think about it. Who in your life changed things quietly? Who spoke when silence was easier? Because sometimes, the strongest person in the room is the one no one notices at first. If this story touched something in your heart, don't forget to like, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what truly matters.